Do you have any other brothers or sisters?
I have two older sisters. The oldest one, she was more accepting than the middle one, only because we have like 5 years apart, and my oldest sister was kind of like a troublemaker, so she was grounded a lot, right? And I was sick a lot as a child, so we both spent a lot of time in each other's rooms. So we kind of bonded more that way. So, I mean, she would lend me her dresses and her dolls, and, you know, because she was more interested in other stuff. Especially when you know, she got around the age of 13, you know, she was more interested in boys and wasn't really interested in her toys, and so I kind of inherited those toys from her. And the middle child was more of a tomboy, and she was more, you know, independent. She was healthier than me and my older sister, because we were we had very bad asthma, both of us. And like I said, the oldest one was a troublemaker, so she was punished a lot, or grounded a lot. But as we got older, things kind of changed, because when you come, there's a point in your childhood where you're completely oblivious to any other society in the world, right? Your world consists of your parents and your family, and that's it. But there comes a time when you realize that there's like a world outside of those people. And I kind of reached that point when I was like 7 or 8 or 9, you know. Friends really didn't want to play with me because I was kind of like the odd kid, because I only wanted to play with Barbies, because that's all I was interested in. That was my passion, was fashion, hair, and, you know, a lot of boys would play with Barbies, but what they usually did was decapitate them and use them for G.I. Joe purposes or whatever. But I would actually like make dresses and use them as fashion models and have like fashion shows, and I'd get cardboard boxes and make little houses for them, and it really pissed off my dad. You know, to the point where I was not allowed to wear any shoes or high heels, of course, play with purses, makeup, jewelry, whatever, outside of my bedroom. I was only allowed to play in my bedroom, to be myself in my bedroom. Outside of my bedroom, I had to conform to being a boy, and I never conformed.
Wow. So your dad put you in a box?
Yeah.
In your room?
Yeah.
Has your relationship with your sister's mom or dad changed over time?
Oh my goodness. I'm not sure change is the right word. I mean, it's completely 100% very different than when it was. I mean, I no longer have any ties with my sisters, and I no longer have any ties with my father. My parents are separated. I will speak to my mom maybe once or twice a month, but as far as family goes, that's the only contact I have, is with my mother maybe once or twice a month.
Huh.
So family dynamics is it's very important. I mean, when you do have a family in your life, I found I was more complete back then. Now I find there's like a hole, right, mm-hmm. that my family used to be in, because my mom tried her best to instill the family values, right? She would always give us like really big Christmases and Easters and you know, like First Communions and stuff like that. Those are always big holidays, so we kind of grew up in that, you know, and now not to have any part of it, or like not even a little, it leaves a big hole in a person's life, you know, and that's when we start looking elsewhere. And
so have you found another family here that you can?
No, I haven't, but it's not from lack of trying.
So, the transgender community here in Sudbury, how strong would you say it is? Like, how many people have you been able to meet through here? Like,
well, when I finally decided to face my demons and say, hey, I am not gay, I'm actually a trans woman, there were no support groups at all in Sudbury. There is absolutely no services, even here at Access. I begged and I pleaded and I did a lot of what I could do, and finally was able to get a little bit of services here from Access, and they've been really wonderful as a resource. Anyways, but I had started a support group for transgender people, and I met about roughly 10 other trans women and maybe like 4 or 5 trans men. So that's about 15 people. And but they just couldn't or didn't want to come to meetings because they were afraid that other people would see them. I know that I don't like being alone, but it's a journey that I've realized that I've had to do it alone. No one is going to hold your hand through this journey. You have to hold your own hand, because sometimes you don't get the information you want, you don't get the acceptance that you want, you don't get the medical help that you want. So you have to really find inner strength. You have to befriend yourself. I've had people try to run me over with their cars. I've had people call me names. I've had people spit on me. I've had people throw cigarette butts on me. I was thrown out of the mall because I used the women's washroom. 2 years ago, I couldn't even step out of my house without being ridiculed. My neighbors would do it. And finding an apartment where I feel safe and where I feel secure was a huge undertaking. I needed help from my counselors from the Canadian Mental Health to find me a place that I would feel secure and safe in. Because it's not everywhere that is safe and secure when you're poorly under budget. So finding a place that I could afford meant living pretty much in Sudbury slums. Where, the rents are sky high for cockroach motels, basically. And unfortunately the rents keep going up and up and up, but the quality of places don't. And a lot of times the lack of education makes for a very ignorant people, and I know one of my crosses, for lack of a better word, is the downtown core. Especially when it comes to the bus depot and stuff, I always get assaulted there. Not physically, of course, because I would cane them or something, but verbally, I get assaulted all the time. And I can't go to church. A lot of Christians need to reread their Bibles because they're not reading it right, but that's my opinion. I know that I've been kind of banned from the Catholic Church because I've had a name change and I'm changing my gender. I'm no longer accepted there. A lot of Christian fundamental churches do not accept the fact that they're apparently I'm breaking a whole bunch of laws that are in the Bible, and so it's so that has also created a big hole in my life, because like I said, I've always loved going to church, and it's always been a part of my life. And now that I can't go, there's like a big hole. So having to redo that spirituality without having the religious part it's one big step. It takes a lot of work and a lot of commitment, right? Because I mean, a lot of lazy Christians could go to church and get enough strength to last them throughout the weeks, you know. But when you don't have that, you have to find different ways to keep up your strength. It's all summed up in one word, which is respect. You know, respect other people, respect yourself, respect your environment that you're in. It's just respect other people's truths. You know, like I'm not trying to imitate women. I'm trying to respect my truth. And my truth is I'm transgendered. And I totally respect other people's opinions and points of views. I don't try to flush my opinions on anyone unless, you know, if you're going to ask, I'm going to give them to you, but I don't volunteer that information. And I think as a society we need to be more respectful of other people and celebrate diversity. I mean, celebrating diversity is not just a gay thing. You know, there's so much diversity out there, whether it's the color of your skin, the color of your hair, the piercings, the tattoos, whatever it is. There's go above and beyond the appearance of a person. You know, it's kind of like people have thrown that don't judge a book by its cover thing, but you know what? Unfortunately, that's what society does. You know, it's kind of like they keep the cover and throw the book out. But, you know, like, throw the cover out and discover the book. You know, I'm more than a cover. I'm also tons of, you know, pages filled with knowledge and whatever.
It's about more than transgender. It's about identity. Who owns yours? The crowd, your friends, your family? Because in the end, the world will tell you who you are until you tell the world.
And if it's cold